Something I've seen discussed a lot recently is the prospect of a Doctor Who shared universe of content, with the amount of discussion over this only increasing with the announcement of Russell T Davies coming back, someone who's famously said that Doctor Who should have a Doctor Who MCU equivalent of some variety. So in today's video I wanted to discuss this prospect, the pros and cons, and whether I think it should happen or not. Would this turn Doctor Who into a global phenomenon, or would it make Doctor Who oversaturated? But speaking of global phenomenons, this video is sponsored by Atlas VPN. Now if you've been on the internet long enough, I shouldn't have to tell you what a VPN is. A VPN is a virtual private network. A virtual private network makes all your internet traffic travel through an encrypted tunnel. This way it protects you from spying, public Wi-Fi dangers, and hides your IP address and your online activities. But the best part about it is, it'll make your device believe you are anywhere in the world. So say for example, you've got a hankering to watch some classic Doctor Who on BritBox, but you're outside the UK. Simply use Atlas VPN to connect to one of its UK servers and boom, you can be watching classic Doctor Who faster than you could say time and relative dimension in space. But that's not all, it even has a data breach miner feature, which is a security feature designed to track any data breaches related to your online accounts. But if all that didn't sound good enough, Atlas VPN are offering a huge discount that means you can get a 3-year subscription for just $1.99 a month if you use my link in the description below. That's getatlasvpn.com/Tharries to get an 82% discount off of Atlas VPN. Thank you to Atlas VPN for sponsoring this video, and let's get into the topic. This is something I've kind of flip-flopped on a lot in the last couple of years. Initially I thought, yeah, this would be great, this would be epic, you could have a bunch of different Doctor Who properties running simultaneously, a bunch of different shows, and don't get me wrong, well part of me does really want that. I am wary of this concept for a few reasons, the main one being the MCU itself. Now I was a huge fan of the MCU for the longest time, but recently the MCU started to feel somewhat saturated to me. What with the level of content coming out constantly, it kind of feels as though you need a full-time job just to keep up with it. And I don't want Doctor Who to ever feel like there's so much of it to the point where it feels like homework to keep track of. And unfortunately that's kind of what the MCU's begun to feel like in recent years. But of course, the MCU aren't the only ones to try this format. Look at something like Star Wars, something that's debatably not really been able to use the model that Marvel has to the same level of success. And I think one of the key reasons for that is that the Star Wars movies were never intended to be this big shared connected universe, whereas Marvel has comics that demonstrate that very concept. It's baked into their very identity. With Star Wars, it was always revolving around a key set of central characters, mainly the Skywalkers. So when you try and expand the Star Wars universe to be this big cinematic universe, it's not quite as seamless a transition as something like Marvel was. And even with properties similar to Marvel like DC, we've seen the pitfalls of them trying to start their own shared universe as well. So it's not always a surefire guarantee to actually work. However, playing devil's advocate, Doctor Who is one of those properties with a large, expansive, extended universe that branches off farther than the TV show. And you could argue that this concept has already worked for Doctor Who before. I am of course talking about the previous time Russell T Davies was showrunner, and the inclusion of the shows Sarah Jane Adventures and Torchwood, both of which were very successful and extended the appeal of the Doctor Who brand, as I knew people who mainly knew Doctor Who via Sarah Jane, and other adults who just watched Torchwood. So if done correctly, a Doctor Who shared universe could allow new gateways into the Doctor Who franchise for different demographics of people. I think my main concern though with the idea of a Doctor Who cinematic universe or television universe is that it could very easily become too big and take away too much focus from the main show. The main show, as much as I like things like Torchwood or Sarah Jane Adventures or Big Finish or anything like that, the main show should be the crown jewel, the heart of this property. And I feel as though if you have too many side projects going on, it will take away focus from that core part of the brand. I do however think there is a balance to strike. If they had like 2 or 3 spin-offs running concurrently, similarly to what they did with Russell's first era, not only with the main dramas but things like Doctor Who Confidential, Totally Doctor Who, that sort of stuff, I think I'd be totally cool with that. I think it's just the concern of Doctor Who pumping out multiple shows yearly that I would kind of be a bit concerned by, because I think you do end up sacrificing quality, and I think you also run the risk of things feeling homogenous and all sort of feeling the same as the MCU sort of started to feel to me. I think the benefit of doing this now though is that Russell T Davies has a much better infrastructure to do something like this now than what he did in the early 2000s. Quite honestly, it's kind of a miracle we got the spin-offs we got. in the early 2000s, considering that Doctor Who had nowhere near the level of budget that it does now. And now we have Bad Wolf, who's an entire production company who's dedicated to making Doctor Who. Obviously they make other things, but now it's not just something that's being bought by the BBC. It's got an outside production company who can afford to dedicate more time to things like spin-offs. So hopefully if this were to happen, Russell T Davies wouldn't be stretching himself quite as thin. So I definitely think there are pros to the idea as well. So I think overall my opinion on a Doctor Who MCU is that conceptually, I think it could work so long as they don't overstretch it. I think 2 main drama spin-offs, plus maybe things like Confidential and perhaps a totally Doctor Who coming back, I could totally see, and I think that would be great in terms of getting Doctor Who back in the public eye again, getting new people on board from different demographics, and keeping fans satisfied with a consistent stream of content that pleases everyone. As I said, I just don't want it to become, let's do everything at once. But let me know what some of your ideas are for a Doctor Who shared universe in the comments below. If you did enjoy this video, be sure to give it a like, comment down below your thoughts, and subscribe if you're new. Thank you for watching, and I will see you later. Shout out to Debs Iona, Shane Smith, Ree Keffin, Seb Lowndes, Jay Monroe, Hash Shandycoot, Patrick Newson, Simon Ashley, Steve Safaro, Andrew Townsend, Alex Robbins, Michael Dykes, Paul Bryden, Sam Yates, Michael Rhodes, Jerry the Meerkat, Heretic, Cameron Jefferson, John M, Andrew Evanson, JM97, Gallifreyan Rob, Cliff's Random Silliness, Kyle McCroy, Nova Wolf Gaming, Carol Jude, Mr. KNL. If you want to become a member, feel free to do so. It really helps out. You get exclusive posts, shout outs in every video, and even your own badge and custom emojis to use.